Alright, this old electronics fan, this is another thing that I was just thinking, well, I'll just quickly play with this and move on and I won't record it. This Pioneer, did I get oil on that? Maybe not. This Pioneer, I know it by now, a CT F500, is a great sounding unit. It's very nice, very crisp, very solid. But what I was running into was that when it got toward the end of the tape, especially if you have a 90-minute tape, it would slow down. And so I replaced the belt, the drive belt, because I thought that was my problem. And the old drive belt was pretty soft. Well, it was stretched and it wasn't doing the job. So when it started acting up, I kind of thought back to the Sharp cassette that I just repaired that had dry bearing on the front of the motor. And so one of the things, I decided I wanted to lubricate this. One of the things I didn't want to do is I didn't want to lubricate it in this position, because the oil would just run, it would probably run out on here and get on there. I'm going to double check that by cleaning this all with alcohol when I'm done. But I got it up like this. I fed oil onto the plate underneath this, and it feels, and onto the plate right here, just fed it in underneath, because this is really tight. The brass part is really tight to that. So, so it feels better now that I've gotten a little bit of oil in it. That's great, but it still felt like there was something else going on. And let's see. Okay, well, anyway. So, in here. Come on. Yeah, alright, I gotta swing that up some more. Alright. Alright, so let me get some light on here. Yes. This, I believe it may perform two, no, actually this is the counter. This is, I believe this is part of the eject mechanism when it reaches the end of the tape. And it felt like this was pretty tight, and I think, yeah, okay. Alright, can't go the other way. So, it felt kind of stiff. So I took the belt off, which is driven off from this pulley. And so if this is stiff and not behaving well, it's going to put a drag on the whole system. Of course, anything that's getting driven is going to be driven by the motor. So anything that's running stiff is a problem. So I dropped a little bit of oil right back there, where this comes together with that other part, and it freed up quite a bit. So what I want to do is also, it showed, I could see there was a little bit of grease on the screw portion of that. Alright. I want to, so this is the multi-purpose synthetic grease, which is something that I think it may have mentioned, I don't know. I bought this for another reason, and I realized as I was using it, hey, this is exactly what I've been looking for to use on various things. Oh, get my belt greased. No, no, no. Don't do that. I'm going to hide this over here. Made the mistake of setting my screwdriver down with the remnants of my grease on it, and it got my belt. So what I want to do is, there we go. Let's get in here, put a little bit of grease. That's probably too much. While I'm doing this, let me just comment about something, and I'm obviously not the last word in this, but I'd be curious about people who have used white lithium grease, and what your experiences were with that, because okay, so where I put the grease is right there where you see the spiral gear right there actually, and because anything, I mean, these motors are designed to have the power they need to run the various functions in the cassette player. But there's a limit. If things are running way too stiff, yep, there it is. Good. I think that's working a lot better. Alright, so let's see, what else do we have going on here? Alright, so I've checked this one. That's running nice and free. This is running free. Now there's a little bit, oh, so back to white lithium grease. The reason I mentioned that is it looks like they might have used that kind of grease on this gear. And it stiffens up, it becomes dry, it becomes hardened, and I'm not a huge fan. Although it may not, actually, the grease that I'm seeing down there doesn't look the same as, what was I seeing over here? No, because I've greased and oiled it, I can't see it anymore. Anyway, so the other thing I want to do is, on the back of this flywheel, and I don't think there's anywhere in the world you're going to see that, in the center there's a little pin that rides against the back of this, and I want to get some lubrication on that as well. So, it doesn't look like they put a lot on there, but I do kind of want to get some of this on there. And would you? I don't think I got what I wanted on there. Let's see, can we? Yes, I think I got some on there. So I can't, it's just virtually impossible to see that. Okay. Alright, so I got some grease on that pivot point. One of the other things I always like to look at and check out is whether or not the capstan is free, and in and out free, and then also rotationally free. And because if it doesn't go in and out freely, then it's also not going to rotate freely. And like I said, anything that causes abnormal resistance to the drive motor is a problem. Alright. Oh. Must be a capacitor in this thing because it just popped at me. Fine. Be that way. Alright, so now when I was rotating, it started out I was rotating the motor, and it felt very stiff, so that's why I pulled the motor off, in addition to the way I wanted to lubricate it. That was something that's important to me. So anyway, oh yeah, that's more better. Much better. Alright. So, just rotating this, so what I just did was I stuck, so I attached this belt, which goes to here, and as you can see, it's rotating freely. It's coasting down. It's not just stopping. So this, I think, was a problem. Was it my only problem? I don't think so. But it was a problem. Let's see. I want to get paper towel. I'm going to try to clean the belt to make sure that the belt slid off further down into the cassette deck, the drive mechanism, further than I wanted it to. It fell off the drive pulley, and I think I see something on there I don't really want there. So I'm just going to do a little. This is a clean belt, or new belt actually. So I really don't want to hit with alcohol. They recommend against that. But what do you do if you have, somehow managed to get a little bit of grease on it? Well, I'm using just a relatively mild cleaner, and it says it degreases. It's all-purpose cleaner, and so I'm hoping that's all I need to do. All right, so go there, go round, round and round, please. One of the, yes, okay, there we go. I think it's okay. Now, so, what can happen, and what did happen, is this belt slid off from here and got down in there. And this belt was also off, although it doesn't seem like it got anything on it. All right. So, now, that feels much better. We'll tell for sure. Well, why are you making all that racket? We'll tell in a minute just how much better that is. Yeah, I'll clean this off too. When I get the belts on the motor, because I could feel a definite resistance there. And I'm guessing, I'm hoping that that's my real problem. So I guess what I'm realizing, and hopefully I'll think about this more in the future, is that when you are dealing with an old cassette deck, and even just doing something like replacing the drive belt, which I just did on this one. Come on. Let's go. There. It makes sense, it really just makes sense to also look at other things while you're in there. And, oh, I didn't clean that. I was going to. Alright, well, let's try it. Alcohol. So, yeah, well, let me back up. I replaced the drive belt because I thought I had a problem with the drive belt. Well, I made an assumption, and that's not a good thing. We all know. And yes, the belt didn't look healthy. But, and here's the thing that I'm hoping to take home for me, is when you're into your cassette deck or any other device that has moving parts, even if you're replacing what you think is the problem, it sure wouldn't hurt to verify that everything else is working the way it should, spinning freely and all that sort of thing. So that's what I did not do, and hopefully now I remember this lesson. This is the second time I'm going back into something to fix it. So I didn't know about the problem I had on the first thing until after I worked on this. So, let's see. Was it? I don't remember what order I did that in. Let's see. Come on. Let's go. Okay, if I do that. No. This is the part I really didn't want to get into, but, and if I have to take the deck out, I will do that. Alright. Now I had this where I wanted it at one point, but it's got this nasty habit of twisting sideways and going places I don't want it to go. Let's go. Come on. There we are. Are we on? Come on. Are we on? Oh. Yes, we are. Now, I'm going to put that on. Yes. Not twisted. Good. The other thing I want to do is get this belt on. You can get it on after the fact, but if I can do it now, it's just a little bit easier. Yes. Now, okay, and since I have this bad habit of knocking things off my bench here, I try now to make sure all my screws go into a tray, and this one happens to have a cover that you can lock, and that seems to make sense that way. Even if I knock the thing off onto the floor, the contents are going to stay inside. That's the ideal thing anyway. Yes, I think we're good. Alright, well, once you get the belts, all the belts in place, you definitely feel the resistance from those belts. And I've used the same company before for a belt on my TX cassette player. And that one I had to make a little modification to the drive motor mountings. Basically just a little wedge that was, I probably don't want to tighten that tight yet, do I? Probably not. The problem was that the newer belt was thicker and it had a little bit more tension, or a lot more tension. Well, hopefully this will work. So I'm going to have to run one of my tapes. I forget which one I had in here now. I was doing something else, and so I moved the tape to another cassette player because I wanted to listen to it, and then I listened to another one after that, so now I really don't know which cassette that was. Oh well, I guess I get to listen to my cassettes again. So anyway, so that company's belt was a little bit had a little bit more tension on it than that cassette was used to, and the motor wasn't solidly mounted like this one is. It had a screw on top and a screw on bottom, and the motor could move. It was little rubber grommets that were mounting the motor. I guess it's to keep it quieter and smoother, but if, for instance, let's take this for example. Our belt is pulling down like this. Well, putting a screw here and a screw down here, if only you use this two, is the right idea, because now, even if these are rubber mounted, the torque on the motor is going to be in line with the two screws. If you were to put a screw here and a screw here with a grommet, this motor could rock side to side, which is what the other one's doing. Now, why did I do that? I thought I had lost the screw and I was going to have to go hunting for it. It was going to be a while, so I turned the tape off, the recording off tape. You can tell that I am of the era that is used to tape. This is going to be fun. I can tell that already. Well, there's a screw that goes down in there. And it's going to be fun to get to. See that? Maybe. If we use this, maybe to get started down there. So my concern is, somehow I managed to maintain my train of thought. It's kind of scary. My concern is that maybe the belt on this is a little bit stiffer than this unit wants, but I believe I found other problems, and hopefully that solves my issue. And unfortunately that was the issue. I didn't really apparently need to replace the belt. The real issue was that the drive mechanism was not turning as freely as it ought to. Ah, yes, so much fun. I'm trying to get here and it's just hiding, and it's really not fun. Get in there, get in there. Ah, maybe. Cold. Oh, just gonna make it. All right. It's really lovely when they've got things right in the way, and I can't show you what I'm doing. This clutch thing here is right there, so I can't see anything. All right. Come on. Actually, I have. Where do I? Yes, I think I do. Yes. Is this going to fit? I have a Phillips jeweler's screwdriver, and I'm hoping. Yes. All right. Maybe. Got that other fancy tool driver that I've got, but it's hard to get in where I want to get, even though it's bent. This toy right here. There are times when it's very helpful, and other times when it's not so much. Can I, now that I've got that in there, can I just check the tension on that maybe? Yeah, no, I can't. Alright, so I would play this for you, but I don't have a tape set up that would allow me to reproduce the problem. Let's see. I really should. Okay, yes. Before I do that. It would not be a good idea to forget that. Not at all. I could just see that jamming behind the flywheel and maybe helping to short out some of the electronics. None of those seem like a good idea, actually. In fact, I know it's not a good idea. Ooh, maybe I can get on this one. Yes. Yeah, those are pretty good. Just double checking. Alright, so lock my cover up again so I don't knock things on the floor. Okay, be that way. Let's see. Oh, that's right, I unplugged it. Works my better when it's plugged in. Okay, so I do have my Google test tape, or YouTube library tape. So maybe we'll just do a quick test, make sure it's playing at a normal speed. Hopefully I'm familiar enough with the music that I can tell that. I've got another toy that I'm working on that will help me check the behavior of my cassettes after I'm done repairing them. Let's see. What do I have? I don't have. I stole my cord for something else. I do that. I did. Okay. Oh, there it is. There's one. This will work. Yes. Come on. Why are you being so stubborn? Okay, good. This cord, let's back up a little bit. This cord, I think this came with my Panasonic 8-track. And as you can see, one of the ends terminated on me. It wasn't very happy. So I had to put another one on there. Okay. Okay, let's see. Put that down. Let's check this out. There it is. Yep. So my ultimate goal, if I keep working on cassettes, is to take a 90-minute tape, 45 on each side, and record music all the way to the end, so that when I encounter a unit like this where it doesn't really want to play nice, once this side has gotten full or almost full, I'm not sure why it does that, but that's where it seems to act up. You get this reel is almost full and this one's almost empty, and for whatever reason it slows down. So that's going to be one of my future projects, is to make a test tape. I guess even if I record music toward the end of it, just so I have something to play with. So so it's working. Everything seems to be working just fine. Let's turn that down a bit. Come on. Stop doing that. Okay. I see there's a little bit of oil, probably from the motor, spattering onto my flywheel. And that does not make me happy. And I took it off and laid it on its back on purpose so it wouldn't do that. But oil is oil, you know, it does what it wants. Let's see. Oh, I want you. Alright. So how are we doing? Well, there are drips on the inner level, which I really don't want. I don't know if there's a good way, a better way to do that, to oil lubricate this. because I really did want to get enough in there to make sure that it was enough to actually do something. But at the same time, I was hoping to avoid putting oil everywhere, and it seems to be what's happening a little bit. I don't know, it doesn't look like it's gotten onto the top of the flat belt. It seems like it's spattered alongside it. I'm kind of surprised that it went there. Let's see. Let's see if we can get. Because it's really not a good thing to get oil in your dry belt. Not really at all. So what I'm trying to do is just try to make sure it hasn't done that. Yeah, this is not ideal. The thing is, when I thought about doing this, there's a couple of teeny tiny Allen screws that secure the brass drive part to the motor shaft, and I was reluctant to undo those. So I don't know if that was a good idea or a bad idea that I didn't do that. I knew there was a risk because it had that big collar on the brass pulley. Yeah, that is what's happening. So yeah, so I knew there was a risk of that. I didn't really want to have that happen, but at the same time, I didn't have any good ideas about how to not do that. I knew I really wanted to get lubrication on there. Yeah, so this is fun. When you start getting into this old stuff and start having to do things like this to try to keep it alive, and I really do want to keep this alive. So you do what you got to do, and then you try to clean up after. I guess that's all you can do. And it didn't occur to me to actually run the motor while it was out and surround it with paper towel to ensure that it didn't do what it did. I didn't really think to do that. I thought I was careful enough and that the oil had probably seeped into the bearing enough that I wouldn't have this problem. As it turns out, I was wrong. Let's see, how's my belt look? I don't see. You can't see anything. This is one of the problems with working on stuff like this. It's difficult to get the camera and the light and all that stuff where you want it to be, and I think I got it cleaned up. Like I said, the manufacturers of the belts strongly recommend against using alcohol in these. They include alcohol pads with the belts, and those are for cleaning the metal surfaces and the plastic dry surfaces as well, to get rid of the old belt residue. And but they do tell you right up front, do not use the alcohol on the new belts. And I have a feeling some people would probably do that. Let's see. That works better with it on. It's on. Alright, so I'm going to just do a final helps if you actually put the appropriate cords in. I get so wrapped up in troubleshooting I forget important things like, gee, maybe it works better with a cable. So yeah, so this little guy right here, this fellow right here, that's, I think, where part of my problem was. 'Cause like I said, they did have grease right on these teeth on this gear, and the grease had, I don't know if even this synthetic would how this would last longer, I think, than what they put on there. But eventually grease goes away. It gets rubbed off, dust gets into it, you name it. So, you know, I thought about lubricating the other parts that are rotating down there, but I don't know. If it wasn't lubricated originally, which it appears that, for instance, this part right here, this little part you see, this little part this little wobble wheel here, that has a shaft goes all the way across there. I don't see indications that they lubricated that at all. If they didn't, and it's still working fine, and it's plastic against metal, a smooth metal, then I'm inclined to leave it alone, because it's working. And whenever, how do I want to put it? Lubrication is a necessary evil. It is absolutely necessary in so many applications, but at the same time, it can cause issues. I mean, the oil can dry out, it can get gummy, dirt can get into it. There's lots of things that happens with lubrication. And you got an old unit that's been around a long time, and dust has gotten into it and dried it up. Not what you want to have happen. So I try to be sparing. You know, this pulley did not seem like it was spinning freely. So I went to the back end of this right here, where this hits this plastic part right here. And I guess it's this metal shaft that it's riding on. But it seems like there was lubrication here, and it had gotten into this spot back here, and it was causing this to be stiff, which is why I did oil that. And then I noticed that there was grease at one time on there, so that's why I put grease on there. So now what I will be doing is I will be run testing this, and hopefully this is it. Okay, I'm actually putting this part in. On the recording, I was saying, well, I'm going to run test this. I'm going to put a tape or two through it. Well, it turns out that I had some stuff to tinker on. So I ran a few tapes through, and including that one in there, and some of them went through more than once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I ran 10 tapes through it. Some of them are 60 minutes, some are 120. Some of them I don't know because they're pre-recorded. This thing is working the way it's supposed to now. Not only that, it's working better than it has in quite a while. I did an early, my first video I did on this was to show you how to deal with the rubber tires that get hard and start slipping. And the rubber renew that I used on there is still working. Here's what's really neat. Doing what I did to this has made this work far better than it has since I've owned it, as far as going fast forward and rewinding. It now behaves like it really should. I mean, it worked before. I really couldn't complain about how it was working, but having run all these tapes through it and doing fast forward and rewinding and all that stuff, I realize now that this thing wasn't working quite up to par prior to me doing all this work on it. Well, a little bit that I did. Lubricating the motor, lubricating those two parts down there, one of which was really kind of gummed up, it looked like. It didn't seem like it was turning very freely. And didn't take much. The little bit of lubricant that I put in there, it made a big difference right away. So, kind of pleased. I didn't really expect the outcome that I got. This is a welcome surprise, so it's good. One of the things that I encountered, though, and this actually highlights how nice this can sound, and this is not going through my best stereo. This is just my test stereo and some old speakers that I've got. But this is a chrome tape. I got it in chrome. And I'm going to do a short segment on here because it's probably copyrighted. No, I don't want to get nailed. So, I hope that came across on the camera. That is about as crisp as it gets. This is a recording, I think, from an album. And I can't remember what I used to record that with, but whatever it was a decent quality unit. The primary cassette recorder that I've used for years is my old Sankyo, and I played it. I used it so much the tape head was actually starting to wear. You can actually see on the top of it that it's developing a groove, the width of the tape on it. So I don't think it's playing now as well as it used to. And if that's what recorded this, that gives you some idea of how good it was. Now, and I did not mispronounce. It's not a Sanyo. It's a Sankyo. Sankyo. It's not a name that everybody knows. So you might be excused for thinking that I mispronounced that. Well, it's what that's called. It's what it is. So I had, when this was misbehaving, I put my TX that I had just repaired back into service because the techniques that I tried to use, I'll have to look at that at some point, decided that it didn't really want to play nice with my tapes. The take-up pulley was turning as it's supposed to, but the tape was wandering to one side or the other and starting to wrinkle a little bit, and that was bad. So I had to park that until I can play with that, and I might do that. That might be my next thing to get into. But so to me, clearly, that problem has existed in here for quite a while. And if you have one of these, that may be something to look at. And so, before I forget not to. I don't know if I could try to. So I pointed to it, I know, in the video previously, but let's see here. Yeah, let's get in here and see if I can get in that. All right. Let's see here. Okay. So, this is the gear that I lubricated. This is the spot on the back of this that I put a little bit of oil in. and it was my sewing machine oil, and immediately I saw a difference when I did just doing that, and then doing this, and that there's some remnants of the grease that they seem to have on this here, and when I put the new grease on there, I don't know if it dissolved it or it got wiped off, but it's no longer there. I don't believe. No, I don't see it. And I think it was down here. I was seeing it right about in here, right about in there. So the way to quickly test this belt comes off from here and goes back on here easily. So I would take the belt off, rotate it clockwise as viewed from the rear. Try to go the other way. It will reach a certain point and stop, and it'll lead you to believe that it's malfunctioning or that it's not working right clockwise. And if it feels stiff at all, then there's a problem here and you need to fix it. It looks like there's a little snap ring right there. If you absolutely had to, you could take this belt off, pop the snap ring off, and then slide this off and take a look and see what's going on. But I believe that was the culprit, and kind of makes me wonder if I really needed to replace the drive belt. I'm not unhappy that I did so, but because now I don't have to worry about it. I knew that at some point I was going to have to do that, so like I said, it's not a big deal that I did that. Eventually I knew I was going to wind up doing that, and so now that I've done it, I can just use it and not have to worry. So, yeah, so every time I do something, I try to pay attention to the experience and try to, if there's something to take away, something that I've learned from whatever I just did, I try to file it away to remind myself in the future to put to use what I've learned. And what I've learned is, in this case, is don't assume that you know what the problem is. I replaced this belt because I knew that belt was bad. And yeah, it was old and it was a bit stretched. But I think if I had done this, taken care of this, I would not have wound up replacing that, at least not yet. So, in the future, I'm going to do more checking to see how free things are. This is your flywheel, and the metal shaft that drives the capstan roller comes straight through. Well, so one of the things you want to do is you want to check and make sure it's free. And if you don't have a belt hooked up to it, spin it and see if it rotates freely. And that's just one of the things you may want to do. If you're able to, take belts off from things and spin them separately. I checked this one while I had the belt off. It's nice and free. This was the only thing out of all the things that I checked that seemed to be problematic. And clearly that was my cure. That was the problem. So, I'm wrapping up here and hope that you enjoyed this. If so, let me know with a like. You can leave a comment. I appreciate that also. And hopefully you'll subscribe if you haven't, and hopefully you'll see me the next time on the next video.